let me ask you something simple and uncomfortable. If you lost your health tomorrow, what would you give to get it back? Money, energy, everything perhaps, and yet every day we give it away in fragments through the choices we make and the habits we ignore. Health is not lost in a single catastrophe. It's lost quietly in the moments when we forget that our future depends on our present discipline. The rules for health are not new, not complicated, not hidden. They are simple. And that is what makes them hard. So today, I ask you not to listen for novelty, but for truth. Because the truth repeated, lived, and practiced, that is what saves lives. Habits are the architecture of health. Small, consistent actions build the body's fortress. Imagine for a moment your body as a structure under constant construction, not a finished monument. Each morning, each choice, each habit laid is a brick placed in that structure. The sugar-laden beverage you reach for, the extra hour of sitting still, the skipped walk, all these are bricks laid not for strength, but for weakness. If you leave them unchecked, the structure begins to crumble from within. Conversely, every disciplined step, choosing whole food over processed, opting for movement instead of inertia, giving rest its rightful place, becomes part of that fortress. Over weeks, months, years, you will look back and find a resilient body, a stronger mind, an immune system that whispers not of strain but of readiness. We tend to think of health as a grand event. I'll get healthy tomorrow. I'll fix it when I'm older. I'll start again next week. But that's misguided. Health is an experiment carried out day by day. It is not a single act but a pattern. If you wait for dramatic change, you ignore the incremental build up that constitutes the real difference. The fortress isn't raised overnight. It's raised brick by brick, habit by habit, with unwavering discipline. And discipline is a habit in itself. It is the habit of returning again and again to the basic actions that sustain life. Think of your habits as the design specifications of your body's blueprint. If you specify weak materials, inactivity, poor nutrition, unrest, then the final structure will be weak. If you specify motion, nourishing fuel, restorative rest, you engineer resilience. But you must not confuse simplicity with ease. The rules themselves are often simple. The challenge lies in consistency and in the refusal to accept less than your best. Move daily, feed wisely, rest properly. That's simple, yes. But to turn daily into habitual, to turn feed wisely into automatic, to treat rest as sacred, that takes inner resolve. That is discipline manifest. We must also understand that our role is active. We are not passive recipients of health. We are the architects. It is we who lay the bricks. It is we who maintain the structure. If we abdicate responsibility and say, my genetics, bad luck, my schedule, then we surrender our role. But if we accept that we are responsible, that the choices we make are the construction site, then we reclaim power. This is not about perfection. It is about persistence. It is not about one grand gesture. It is about many small ones. And finally, when you build your body's fortress through daily habits, you don't just preserve what you have. You create potential. You don't merely fight decline. You enable transformation. The structure you build today nourishes the greater life you will lead tomorrow. The stronger your foundation, the more daring your possibilities. So treat every habit as both tool and tool for health, testament to your commitment. Because the architecture of health is not laid in emergencies. It is built in the quiet, repeated moments of choice, of action, of fidelity to your own design. We must assume responsibility. Health is not passive. It is not something that happens to us while we sit idly by. If we view our well-being as a gift received, we shortchange our capacity. We must view it as a responsibility accepted, a duty performed. When you wake each morning, your body is waving a flag. Here I am. What will you do with me? And the answer you give will determine whether that body becomes a citadel of resilience or a house of decline. Responsibility begins with a simple acknowledgement. You are not merely the vessel. You are the steward. If you surrender that stewardship by neglect, by convenience, by the rationalization of, I'll start later, then you relinquish the power you possess and you hand over the blueprint of your future health to chance. Responsibility manifests in choices, not grand gestures alone, but in countless small decisions. The choice to stand rather than sit. The choice to eat for repair, not just for taste. The choice to sleep because your body needs it, not because you feel you deserve to stay awake. Each of these choices is a statement. I accept I am responsible. I will act. The discipline to act when feelings are absent is the real measure of responsibility. Because if health were dependent solely on motivation, then every day would be perfect. But life intervenes, fatigue arrives, distractions ease in, and it is in that moment when the signal, it's easier to skip, whispers, that responsibility speaks. Do it anyway. Moreover, responsibility extends beyond the individual moment. It is cumulative. You don't get to conclude after one good week that I've done my part. You have to ask what happens next week. What happens the week after? The actions you take today form the foundation of tomorrow's condition. If you decide that health is passive, you slide. If you take responsibility, There is also a moral dimension. Our health doesn't exist in isolation. Our well-being influences our capacity to engage, to contribute, to serve. If we neglect it, we diminish our ability, not just for ourselves, but for those who depend on us, for those who watch us, for those who will follow us. Responsibility, therefore, is twofold: responsibility to self, responsibility to the field of influence you carry. Let us also recognize that claiming responsibility means refusing to attribute blame to outside forces. My genetics, my time, my luck, my schedule, these become excuses. I do not deny genetics or circumstance. They have their role, but they do not relieve you of agency. Your habits, your decisions, your persistent actions are what define your trajectory. The individual who says, I couldn't, forfeits the opportunity of, I did. To assume responsibility is to recognize that you have dedicated capacity, that your life is your laboratory, and you are conducting the experiment. You observe, you measure, you adjust, and you persist. There is no external magic switch. There is only your consistent engagement. Finally, responsibility invites hope. It invites confidence. Because once you accept, I will act, I will build, I will persist, you move from victim to architect. You shift from reaction to initiation. Your health becomes a live project under your supervision, guided by your intent. And the human system is remarkable. It responds. It adapts. It transforms, but only if you give it direction. So I challenge you, will you assume responsibility? Will you treat your health as the responsibility it is, rather than the accident it sometimes feels? If so, you will not merely survive, you will thrive. You will carry the strength to meet life's demands, and you will build a future you can inhabit fully. The rules you follow are simple, but your discipline must be unwavering. There is a kind of beauty in simplicity, yet it is often simplicity that people resist. They search for complex answers, for secret formulas, for some hidden code that will unlock health and vitality. But the truth, as it has always been, straightforward: move your body, eat with purpose, rest deeply, manage your thoughts. That is all. The rules are not a mystery. The challenge lies in constancy, in the ability to follow these simple truths with a spirit that does not falter when comfort tempts, or when time pressures whisper that it can wait. The simplicity of the rule does not reduce its power, it magnifies it, because it asks you not merely to understand, but to commit. Every era in human progress has been shaped by the same principle. We discover the essential, and then we must have the discipline to apply it. Knowing is not doing. Many people know what sustains health, but few make it habitual. The reason is not ignorance, it is inconsistency. We live in a culture that celebrates instant gratification, where patience is seen as weakness and repetition as dull. Yet every biological truth tells us the opposite. The body renews itself by repetition, by daily cycles of nourishment and repair. The heart strengthens by repeated exertion. The mind sharpens through daily challenge. Inconsistency is not human nature, it is human choice. Discipline is the correction of that choice. Discipline, in its true form, is not harshness. It is not punishment. It is care expressed through structure. When you choose to wake early to exercise, when you decline what you know will harm, when you rest even when the world says keep going, that is not denial, that is devotion. Discipline is an act of respect toward your future self. It is a declaration that you value continuity over comfort, growth over indulgence. You must learn to find satisfaction in that pattern, to see discipline not as restriction, but as liberation, because it frees you from the tyranny of regret. But understand this clearly: you cannot outsource discipline. No physician can inject it. No pill can provide it. It must be grown from within, through practice, through struggle, through the daily encounter with choice. There will be lapses, there will be failures, but each return to the rule strengthens it. Each act of recommitment rewrites the story of your habits. In science, progress is not made through perfection, it is made through persistence. The same is true for your body and your life. In the end, the rule itself is simple, but the mastery of it is rare. It requires integrity. Doing what you said you would do long after the initial excitement has faded. It requires patience, accepting that results are delayed but certain. And it requires faith in the principle that consistency will prevail where intensity will not. You cannot rush biology. You can only guide it. So hold fast to the simple rules, practice them with unwavering discipline, and let time, your greatest ally, reveal what steadfastness can build. For in simplicity, lived with devotion, lies the true sophistication of health. When I worked in science, I learned that life does not reward those who wait for perfect conditions. It rewards those who act with consistency and faith. Your health follows the same law. The rules are simple. The discipline is hard. The result is freedom. So start, not tomorrow, not when it's convenient. Now. Move with purpose. Eat with respect. Rest with intention, because one day your body will thank you, not with words, but with years. The experiment begins today, and you are the scientist